Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So now we start with subpart 2 of our section 4, which is testing, refining and pitching your design. And we understood in the last section what is the importance, why it is important to be testing with people, and how much it benefits the design, the end result, as well as the in terms of the ROI in the design, by testing early and testing often with people. Now we will speak a little more about what it means to be testing your design with people. So why are we evaluating with users again? Because, as I mentioned, nobody gets a design right the first time. That's, you accept that, and please create early prototypes, right? And test with people. Take my word for it. You have seen this, our view of looking at it as knowing your user. Why? Because it is not you. The user is never you. Never, never, ever is the user you. So know thy user, for it is not you. Evaluating with users helps save time because you iron out a lot of the bugs early. It gives you a lot of confidence in the design. Remember the slide that talked about the heart attack induced emergency that might happen? You will sleep much easier at night if you will have gone through these iterative testing, not just testing, but testing with people. And at the end of it, you will have a lot of confidence in your design, that you've done the right thing, you've made the right design. It ensures quality. Yeah. Why is quality linked with ease of use or usability or being people centric? Because if it conforms to what people want, then its acceptance is higher, its error rate is lower, the time it takes for people to get things going is much lower, and your dropout rate will be lower. So all of those reasons, which all actually connect to quality. And it's an ultimate sales pitch. What does it mean that it's an ultimate sales pitch? So for those of you who are working in organizations, sometimes it's really hard. In fact, a lot of times it's very hard to be able to convince upper management about your designs. Or any ideas that you have, right? So if you will have an idea that you will put forth, and along with it you would say, this is my idea and this is its benefits, this is why it makes sense, and I have tested it with users and this is what it came back with. Out of 5 users that I tested, 4 of them were able to be successful. I can bet you your design, your idea, your proposal will get taken a lot more seriously. Okay, so it is an ultimate sales pitch, and speaking from experience, I can tell you that it really makes a difference. Okay, we have been talking a lot about testing early, testing your design early, testing as much as possible early in the process, right? Let's look at this diagram. This diagram, on the x-axis, it is got time, right, as time goes by, and on the y-axis is probability. Probability of 2 things, right, corresponding to the 2 arrows that are shown. So probability of design freedom and probability of knowing your user goals, from low to high. So what this means is that, let's say in the early days of the project, when you're just starting to get an understanding of the problem, and you're kind of figuring out and reconsidering and thinking about the problem and everything, at that point you know very little information about your users. You're still trying to understand it. You've just been given the problem, for example, and you're just trying to figure out the problem. So your probability of knowing your user goals is very low. As time goes by and you get deeper and deeper and deeper into the project, you start to understand better and better and better what your user goals are. So you go from a low to high, and the probability at this point in time so much further. So let's say this is 6 months or 1 year, whatever the time frame may be. At this point, over time, the probability that you will know much better what your users' goals are is very high, right? You know much more about your users at that point than you know about this point, at this point. Now, let's look at design freedom, okay? What does design freedom mean? The freedom to make changes, the freedom to, keep conceptualizing, keep ideating, the ability to keep designing, because we all know that at certain point in the game it's done. You cannot design anymore, right? This is your window of opportunity to design. After that it goes into final detailing and production, pre-release and all those kinds of things, when you cannot make design changes. So the design freedom that you have at this point is very, very high. You can do whatever you want at this point, right? Early in the process. As you go further and further and further in time in your development cycle, in your engineering cycle, your design freedom keeps reducing. You may come up with the most brilliant idea over here. Sorry, it's too late. We can't put it in this product. Sometimes if it's a soft product, you may have the ability to put it in a next release, but you've missed the boat. Essentially, you've missed the boat. Okay? So the point is that at this point in time in the development cycle, your freedom, design freedom, the ability to make changes is very high. Over here, as you go with time, your ability to make changes gets lower and lower and lower and lower. Therefore, cost of early is very low. This is also corresponding to the cost. If your design freedom is very high and early in the cycle, your costs are very low. You have very little invested. As time goes, you have invested more and more and more into the design, and at one point you've invested so much that it's too late. You can't turn back, right? So as much as you can use of the design freedom, as much as you can use of making design changes, making trying to make your design better and better and better, the better off you are. So therefore, the cost of early is very low, and it is definitely in your best interests to do as much of your design iterations as early in the cycle as possible. So therefore, if you can do like with your paper prototypes, within say this period, you can have done 4 revisions in which you've understood, you made your product better and better and better. Okay, as you've gone with time, you are in very good shape. So by the time you've 1/3 of the way, you already have a lot of confidence, and as a result, you will have a lot more knowledge of your user goals as well. Okay, because you will have done all this early research. All right. Now the question that often comes, and the concern that often comes, particularly in corporations, is who do we evaluate with? What is this going to mean? How many people do we evaluate? It's going to cost too much. It's going to take too long. So there's a lot of objections. And if you're equipped with this information, you will be in a better position to do that kind of objection handling. So let's look at who to evaluate with now. You should be evaluating with the personas you created, the people whose descriptions you wrote as the typical groups of people, the typical types of people who are representative of the kinds of inputs that your design need, right? The kinds of people whose perspectives you need that you have defined through your personas. So this is an example where, we're looking for people who own very, very small businesses, sometimes home-based businesses, and then, working on like a digital based application for them. So if you're able to get exactly your personas, that's very lucky. There are times when you may not get them, when it may be difficult, they are unavailable, they are, let's say you're looking to talk to the head of surgery in a hospital, that person is very, very busy and it's not going to be easy to get them. So in those cases, you try and get representative users. Maybe you would talk to his junior, or you would talk to that doctor's, the nurse, or some people around them who would be able to fill you in on some of the information. And then you do a very quick interview with that real person. But this is your ideal, this is the next best. Next is non-technical users. As much as you can, please speak with non-technical users, because technical users oftentimes are so familiar with technology that it is not a problem for them. When a product is designed to have inherent difficulty of use designed into it, misdesigned into it, I should say, non-technical users may not find that a big problem, and you will never know. So you think your product is in great shape, but then the minute it's put in front of people who are not as familiar with technology, it would bomb. So the next best is non-technical users. Anybody, should you test with anybody or nobody? That's the answer. Anybody, any user or no user. So always any user, if you really are in such a bind that you can't get anyone, but not you. Again and again I emphasize that you are not the user. Please do not give your feedback, your inputs, your thoughts about, I think this is fine, I think this is very easy, anybody can figure this out. Well, guess what? You are not anybody. Right? You are very special if you are part of the design team, because the graph that we drew, knowledge about the product and the domain and the project, you're getting better and better and better. By the time you're halfway through, you're a veritable expert in the field. Okay? So this is who you need to evaluate with. How many users? Right? How many users should you evaluate it for an early test? Now, Jacob Nielsen's research suggests that if you have two types of users, like two personas, right, then 4 users from each type is good. From each type, pick 4 users. So let's say you're talking about an e-learning platform. Your faculty is one type of user, your students are another type of user. There might be others, but in this case, you've decided to focus on those 2 users. So in that case, 4 users from each type is quite good. And if you're testing 3 or more types of users, 3 or more personas, then about 3 users from each type. Why? Why do these numbers come? Because you can see by the time you are at 4 or 5 users, you already have identified 80% of the usability problems. And there is no additional value to testing more users. If you will have tested 3, you would have already identified about 70% of the problems, right? So there is no additional value. You're much better off testing 3 users, making a revision, another 3 users making a revision, another 3 users making a revision. So instead of testing 9 users in one shot, you're much better off to do 3 rounds of users in sets of 3, and between those rounds of testing you refine your design, you improve your design, you enhance your design. So then by the time you get to the 3rd set of users, your design has gotten 3 times as better. Okay, so this is again the objection of it takes too many users, we need to test hundreds of users. You don't. This is all you need. And again, remember, we are not doing this for a research report. We're doing it just to inform our design. And choose your users well. Make sure you try and get representative users at least, if not the actual personas. Okay? And 0 users give 0 insights. Never forget this statement. 0 users will give you 0 insights. You will not have learned anything. And all those problems that you have designed into your product continue to live in it like little bugs inside and surface at some point later when they cause you a lot of grief. So that was about some thoughts about testing your design with people.